right? They like being around women who are fertile. They actually, we'll talk about this in a minute, they find women more attractive when they're fertile. This is an amazing thing, that all these women are contracepting during the period of their life when they're trying to attract a spouse. And they're taking contraceptives that make males not interested in them. And I think that's really part of the women dress so immodestly, because they're trying to find some other way to attract men than by their natural hormones that will naturally attract males. This is good news for some of us, maybe even most of it, the magic of sexual attraction. They say female chemical messengers known as pheromones may help dupe men into thinking plain women are more attractive and beautiful women are less attractive than they actually are. Pheromones, the colorless, odorless chemical signals given off by the body, are thought to affect behavior in both animals and humans at a subconscious level. That's again a similar kind of study here. What they did here is they took a group of supermodels and showed them to a bunch of human males, and they had the males rate them for their attractiveness. And of course they found these females very attractive. Then they took pictures of ordinary females and showed the men the pictures of the ordinary females, but put something in the room that was soaked with female fertile hormones, which men perceive through the olfactory nerves. It doesn't really have a smell, you couldn't detect it, but you're receiving it through your olfactory nerves. And the males found the ordinary women more attractive than the supermodels. So ladies, what might we want to conclude from this? All right, that the millions of dollars that we're spending on makeup and clothes and everything, we're undercutting by using contraceptives. And I remember teaching at the University of Dallas, and there was a very distinct group of females, so different groups of females. It was a good Catholic school, so we had a lot of good Catholic kids who were being chaste, and some of the women dressed very femininely. I knew they weren't sexually active, they weren't taking the contraceptive pill, and they were truly male magnets, all right? The males just loved to cluster around these girls and talk to them. Again, they felt very masculine, they found the girls very attractive. And then I would see some young woman very immodestly clad, and I knew not to be living such an upright life, and she'd be walking down the quad, again, immodestly clad, and the good guys would barely look. I mean, they would sort of like, oh, there's trouble there. Don't need that. And of course, the guys that weren't so upright were enjoying themselves, right? So women have a very different effect on men for both their hormones and obviously their way of dress. Now, this one's a very interesting one, the T-shirt test. This involved one group of females that were contracepting and another group of females who were not contracepting. Then it featured a group of males who were wearing a T-shirt for the day. And first let me say, they rated these males for their evolutionary desirability. On the top of the heap were the men who were healthy and, I suppose, responsible. Women are very attracted to men on the basis of smell. Women think men smell wonderful, except for their sweat socks that haven't been washed. But other than that, think men smell pretty darn good. They had these men wear T-shirts for a day. And at the end of the day, the women, not having met the men, smelled the T-shirts. And at the end of it, they tried to rate the men for which ones they thought they might like to date, just on the basis of the smell of the T-shirt. The women who are not contracepting chose the men at the top of the evolutionary ladder. The women who are contracepting chose the men at the lower ranges of the evolutionary ladder. Whenever I get this talk, I see a couple of you nodding your heads now. Mothers come up to me and they say, that explains a lot. And I say, what does that explain? And they say, it explains why my daughter's with that loser. All right? She's contracepting. And other women will say, that's why my son, who is just a really fine fellow, seems not be able to attract the women, because they're all contracepting, and they're not perceiving that he's a very fine fellow. So there's most amazing ways in which God has made us chemically wired in order to be able to choose good people. Right? And even there's some studies that seem to suggest, even on the basis of fertility, that when all the natural hormones are working, people are drawn to people that they might have a greater compatibility with for procreating. And that sometimes those who are contracepting choose badly. This is interesting. Taking the pill for the past 40 years has put women off masculine men, says this article in Mail Online. Scientists say the hormones in the oral contraceptive suppress a woman's interest in masculine men and make boyish men more attractive. Although the change occurs for just a few days each month, it may have been highly influential since use of the pill began more than 40 years ago. If the theory is right, it could partly explain the shifting in tastes from macho 1950s and 1960s stars such as Kirk Douglas